Another week in the NBA begins here, as it always does in the Splash Play NBA shows. We're going to dig in and compare my projections to one of the industry leaders out there, our friends over at Stokastic. We'll see what my data thinks. Who do I like? Spoiler alert, it's Karl Anthony Towns. What's the ownership looking like? We'll take a game-by-game view in addition to looking at the top plays or top projected plays and the top value plays. We'll hop over to Stokastic, run a sim on there without my interference, see what their beautiful data thinks about things. We'll maybe do a single lineup sim, and by the end of this video, you know, all of today's must plays for November 17th, along with my splash plays. So let us get into it here. Hope it was a good weekend for you guys. Of course, I am doing NBA shows Saturday over at Stokastic, so I got one day of NFL. I had a good NFL day yesterday. And, you know, for NBA, Saturday was actually a good day for me, too. So feeling I'm feeling on a hot streak. As you can tell, my lack of confidence. I don't feel like I'm on a hot streak. I do feel like my data is performing well lately. That's obviously the main thing I'm looking for here. And of course, we'll be comparing my data to Stokastic, so check them out if you want to see things update as the day goes on. I record these videos at 2 p.m. Eastern every Monday to Friday. Shout out to all you guys who've been watching, hitting that like button here. The channel, only less than 1 month. A lot of growth here, so please, let's see how high we can push this thing. Keep hitting that like button. Please subscribing. But do check out Stokastic too, because I get to use their data here on screen. And of course, it does update and change as the day goes on. So if you want to get that in your life, go check that out. 15% off with the promo code SPLASH. Top projected players for today: Nikola Jokic, number one. He's not in the main slate, though. He might be on FanDuel. I don't know. I'm not prepping FanDuel today because I'm not even having to pretend on a Stokastic stream. But Nikola Jokic, if you are playing that late slate today on DraftKings, 12.8 salary, still very playable to me. At this point with Jokic, when you have at least one nugget out, and that's the case again today, some of the lesser wing players not available. Cam Johnson, I believe. Where are we? Cam Johnson's confirmed out, right? No, he's in the projections. Never mind. Christian Brown. Christian Brown is out. That's the one that's out. Cam Johnson might be a Q tag, but as it is right now, we get any nugget out at all. And honestly, if we don't get a nugget out, Jokic is going to project really well for me. He's not in our main slate, but if you are playing a slate with him, I would certainly try to play him. That salary probably can't get high enough at this point. NBA saved me from an uninspiring NFL day. Yeah, I mean, all the chalk failed in NFL yesterday, which is never going to be a fun outcome at this point, too, especially in NFL where the chalk is pretty reliable, pretty good. That's how it goes. But that's also just DFS. You got to strap in for the long haul. Giannis, in terms of players that we actually have that we could play today, he looks like the top projected guy, 62.7 fantasy points for me, 62.6 for Stokastic. That said, that price tag of 11.8, not the easiest to get to on the slate, but I'd get to it more than Stokastic. Got him at 27% ownership in my top 150. Field by Stokastic expected to be at 19.4%. So Giannis producing this year 1.76 fantasy points per minute. You could downgrade him a little bit for this Cleveland matchup where it is, you know, tougher than league average defense, 113.4 points given up per 100 possessions by Cleveland. It's decent. The rim protection really being the main thing, though. Having Mobley, having Jared Allen. I think that's stuff for if you want to downgrade Giannis a little bit for that, you can. But it's Giannis. He's going nuts in every spot this year, or at least, you know, playing well enough. I think compared to Jokic, he's really, you know, not quite in that tier, but compared to everybody else in this slate, Giannis looks pretty good. So this point for Giannis, good price tag on him, but not so great. Quarter of my lineups have him. That feels like enough. So I just need to upgrade a little more for projections. I'm stupid. Yes, the VIP one is where you get my exportable projections. And if you want this screen, basically, where you could go through, see my projections, but also you can't really grab them as easily, that is the regular Squirt Squad tier. So I appreciate you asking. Shouts to all you guys have been joining lately, because a lot of you guys have been. But, you know, this different things for each tier. So make sure to read closely if you can. Nikola Jokic, Giannis, top two guys. Karl Anthony Towns at number 3, despite being a lot cheaper at 9,500. Towns, an absolute monster going back to last year when you take Brunson and OG and Anunoby off the court. This year, small sample size, not a big enough one at about 300 possessions with those guys off, but he's averaged 1.75 fantasy points a minute. Going back to last year, you take those guys off and still keep Cam Payne on. You have 1,000 possessions for Karl Anthony Towns, with Cam Payne being a pretty high usage guy. But Towns has had 36% usage, a 25% rebound rate, 10% assist rate's a little bit lower. I think for Cat, you know, you want to downgrade the rebounds a little bit more because he will be playing the 4 in the spot with Mitchell Robinson active. I suppose you can, but the big thing is that that usage is so high because now with Anunoby and Brunson out, that is a ton of usage that's gone. And really, Jordan Clarkson this year with Brunson and Anunoby off, he's putting up a 22% usage rate, so he's not really shooting as much as he has in the past. Josh Hart historically with those guys out, 16% usage rate. Landry Shaman, who'd go nuts recently for the Knicks, still only a 16% usage rate for him. Miles McBride, 18. There's nobody else really getting shots up besides Cat and Mikal Bridges. So Cat to me, 54% owned. I'm getting a ton more, 87% sim exposure right now in my top 150. And I think for Cat, projection for me, 5 fantasy points higher. We are back in the glory days of last year. I got Cat every slate. We're doing it again. And shout out to the kind chats. Appreciate all you guys joining here. We got Kingston. We got House in here. Hopefully that's Joe House of Bill Simmons fame. Laugh at my jokes like you do Bill Simmons is what I'm hoping from you, House. But shout out to you guys watching live and after the fact as well. Appreciate all you guys who do whenever you watch. Appreciate it a bunch. Really happy with the NBA channel so far. Hopefully you guys are too. If you guys have feedback, especially the paying members, let me know. Pop it to the Discord. Happy to hear you guys' feedback. Obviously, projections being what they are. Just keep in mind, it's still a median outcome for me as much as it is Stokastic. James Harden, 30% sim ownership for me in my top 150. Fields at 21. Harden, it's a weird spot for Philadelphia. Or them going against Philadelphia, rather. Was 6.5 points going against the Clippers on the road before. Where are we at now? Sorry, I got to search by values here instead of formulas because cleaning up some formula stuff. So 6.5 point dogs are the Clippers right now. Bogdanovich Q tag. Derek Jones fucked up his knee pretty bad. If you see the clip, if you like gross injuries, sideways little knee bend for Derek Jones yesterday, not good. Jordan Miller also got hurt in the first game for the first half rather for the game yesterday in the Clippers, so he's out today. Think you're getting James Harden a risk to be out today with them being 6.5. I feel like if he were out, it might be closer. Well, it is Philly. I feel like it might be like 8.5 if Harden were for sure out, but as it is right now, I would say he's on the fence of probably not playing or playing. It is a revenge spot for Harden. If you want to keep in mind, he did get fucked real big time on his contract as expected from Philadelphia. Then he didn't play as well. And Daryl Morey would not give him the deal that was supposedly like a handshake under the table agreement that he was going to get certain max amounts of money. He didn't get that offer. That certainly will add to Harden playing vengefully. But the big thing, because again, on this channel here, I'll talk about narrative stuff a little bit, but it's about the data. You have no Kawhi. You have no Derek Jones now. You have no Chris Paul's barely playing. Beal's gone for the year. You have a lot of guys that should have usage that are not having usage now. So if Harden plays, he looks really good. 21% ownership expected for Harden again. I got 30. A good play if he goes. If he doesn't go, you're going to get some garbage Clippers, but Kobe Sanders, very playable. Collins will look better. Zubac will look a lot better, assuming that he also were to play if Harden did sit. If Bogdanovich is out, it's going to open up some stuff too. Bogdanovich played real fast for the Clippers. I think it's important to look at. And we do look at Popcorn Machine a lot here on the show. Really important tool if you are playing DFS or prop betting, really, to understand how your starters and backups work. Bogdanovich here, first half played 5.5 minutes, 4 and change here. So about 10 plus another 2. He played 12 minutes first half. Second half, you had Jordan Miller and had Derek Jones hurt. Bogdanovich played about 8.5 minutes here, another 2.5 on top of that. So 11 minutes in one quarter, the entire fourth quarter. So you played, if you were to play the entire game, you're talking about him playing like 45 minutes. He's hurt now. He's got a Q tag on him, or he's banged up now as a result. But if Bogdanovich plays here and starts for the Clippers, the assumption is that he's going to play like, I would say at least high 30s minutes, if not gets a 40. So Bogdanovich, your value play, that matters a lot, assuming if he goes. If he doesn't go and Harden's out, you're going to get a bunch of Clippers, and you should probably take whichever ones they get, because Philly, not a great defense, and there's just so much usage left behind that if you get Harden, Zubac, Bogdanovich out, Chris Dunn, Kobe Sanders, Brooke Lopez, Kobe Brown, John Collins, all of those guys will look good because you're missing a lot of really important, like the Clippers could go either way today. Harden plays, he looks great, but if you get these guys out and the total seems like somebody else is going to be out here, it could get really weird for them. Are you playing the Cisse guy? We'll get there, but I don't know, to be honest, because I don't think Stokastic got a minutes update for that in yet, and I'm not sure it's a guarantee that he just takes his minutes and Gafford's. He probably get Powell in a little bit more, but we'll look when we get there. We'll go to the game by game view and the value view, and we'll see if he pops up. Tyrese Maxey, 10-5 salary. I'm not really getting him, so I'm going to speed run through here. We have no Oubre, though. We have no Joel Embiid, so there should be more usage to go around theoretically. Unfortunately, you're adding in Paul George, and I don't think he's going to be an aggressive, like, ball hog player. He really didn't do that a ton for Philly last year, but he's going to take 20 to 25% usage no matter what, coming off his injury, playing about 20 to 25 minutes. I think Stokastic has him around 24 or so. So that just hurts the math a little bit, getting another guy in when you would have Embiid out here. You would have Oubre out. The situation would look better. But Maxey, never a bad play. I feel like it's a tournament option. He and Donovan Mitchell, they're two guys that don't always come up for me projection-wise, but it does feel like night to night they end up winning a lot. You know, it's top lineups really that are low-owned, and including them as the option that has a big upside and is not super-owned. So I think for Tyrese Maxey here, 1% and change, I'm getting 4. I don't think he's a bad play by any stretch. Cade Cunningham, assuming that he plays today, 11K salary, still a little bit too high for him, especially as we're getting a Sar Thompson back in, still no Tobias Harris. But I think in these projections, they have Dennis Jenkins out entirely, who I don't think is going to be squeezed completely for the rotation, but it does hurt Cade's upside a little bit to have some guys that have maybe earned some more usage, some more opportunity. Jalen Duren is probable, so even if Cade doesn't go, it'll make Duren a better play. But Cade at his salary, think you're paying the price tag for the previous performance, and now this team is close to full health for Detroit, or closer to full health. SGA, really not coming up for me at all. Tough spot versus the Pelicans. OKC, really gigantic favorite here. Another 17.5 point spread, favoring them on the road. Was the same thing versus Charlotte over the weekend, if you watched my Saturday content on Stokastic. And it ended up being a competitive game there until the Thunder put the beat down on the second half. First half, Hornets were hanging in. You could get the same case here for the Pelicans, another dog shit team. But really, the Thunder are on their kind of ass-kicking situation right now where they're playing really, really bad teams, and they're really good and really talented and still missing a few guys, but healthy enough to put beatdowns down. I don't really think for SGA, unless you want to play a bunch of Pelicans with him, and you have Zion coming back in for them, so the math doesn't really math super well, with the salaries being kind of reflective of the time period without Zion. I just don't think you want a lot from that Thunder Pelicans game. My boy AJ Mitchell, maybe a little bit. But it does seem like a good SGA spot at almost 11K. Josh Giddey in that late game versus Denver looks pretty good, but it doesn't matter for this slate, so we're going to skim through it. Jalen Duren with Cade assumed in, 27% ownership for the field. I'm getting 51. Duren has been a good player overall when Tobias Harris is off the court. Now you're getting a Sar Thompson back in, so that's one more body than Duren would have had the last few games where he projected so well and didn't go. But if Duren plays, he has been producing overall, I think like 1.4. 1.37, so let's say 1.4 rounded up fantasy points per minute. He's putting up 32 points per 100 possessions. Cade's at 35 and change. So, like, Duren's been scoring incredibly well, rebounding really well with 20 rebounds per 100 possessions. Duren's been a very good player. The price tag at 8K. If Cade's out, it's way too cheap. If Cade's in, he's still a very good player that I'm getting in half my lineups. Anthony Edwards, 9,100, not coming up a lot for me, but the field's got him at 12%. I've only got him at 4. I do have Julius Randle projected a little bit better here relative to the salaries. Randle is 1K cheaper. Both guys playing well to start the year for sure. And for Minnesota, I think the team total is pretty good. 122.5 implied for Minnesota at home against Dallas. One of the better individual totals for a team on the slate. No issue playing Edwards or Randle, but I'm getting more of Randle. So is the field. We're going to sort by value here. And guys, again, if you get any value out of this video, no pun intended, even though I don't mind a pun. But if you get I should have hammed it up more. If you get any value out of this video, that's what I would do if I meant it. Please subscribe down below, hit the like button, leave a comment if you're watching after the fact. That goes a long way for me here. Really, I'm just ultimately one dude showing you my gambling across the NBA, across the NFL on my Splash Play Pod channel, and ultimately just trying to give you guys a shot at using whatever research I'm doing for myself to make your days better. Even if only you're gonna fade everything I say, I don't think it would work out that well. You could certainly fade some stuff, and that'll work out well. That's probably true of any content creator out there. But hopefully the prep work here, how I talk about stuff, adds some value to your process. So please show some love, subscribe, hit the like button, and join the channel if you can. $5 to join for just your supporter tier, you get access to a Discord for that. If you want my data, join the Squirt Squad tiers. You get either the matchup screen or the exportable data, depending on the version of the membership you join on. But check them out down below. Hit the join button. You could also join on iOS if you want. It'll charge you some extra VIG on that, which does not go to me. But if you want it, the convenience of going through Apple Pay, you can. And check out Stokastic too. They're kind enough to let me show their data on screen here. But of course, it does update as the day goes on. So if you want something that's not my data, take the one that's winning people a lot of money as well at Stokastic. 15% off, the only deal they have going right now with the promo code SPLASH. Click the link in the description too. But promo code SPLASH, remember that whenever you want to sign up on Stokastic for the algo. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Appreciate all you guys watching here and all the kindness that we're building a good community here. So let's keep it going. My goal is to get through the entire NBA season with a 5 days a week. So pray for me, but also let's strap in because we are not even a month in yet. DeAndre Hunter. So this is the weird one on the DraftKings slate. For some reason, they docked his price by about 2K. DeAndre Hunter last game did have a tough one. I think only had like 17 and change fantasy points. But on the year, he's been producing 30 plus, 40-ish, depending on the spot. Also has had a lot of usage on the year, even in games where he's not playing with these guys out, with Mitchell missing time lately, Garland missing time lately. So I think for DeAndre Hunter, really the price tag is the main thing. Projected to play 31.5 minutes. Overall this year, he has produced at a 1.03 fantasy point per minute pace. Today, I really tried to not goose his rates at all, even though he does get more usage when Darius Garland is out, and Darius Garland's out today. I just think Hunter is a very strong play here. And honestly, with his price tag being what it is, even if he hits the downside of his projection, let's say he puts up 20 fantasy points here and has like an awful day, and that might be really low for him, I think, based on the amount of minutes. He's still probably going to make a winning lineup because he's 4,500, allows you to get the guys who can spike a meaningful ceiling around him. So DeAndre Hunter should be in a lot of your lineups, 76% for the field. I'm getting 85. If you're the most contrarian DFS player, if you're only playing one lineup today and you just didn't want to play the guy who's going to automatically be in every lineup, fade Hunter. I think that's a reasonable thing to do. If you're putting one lineup in the lotto today on DraftKings, that makes a little game theory sense. But he's too good of a play, and really, like, you want to play the best plays in NBA because as long as the minutes don't get weird, these guys will usually pay off. Bogdanovich, we talked about already through the prism of the Clippers. If he plays, 31 minutes might be a little bit too low of a projection. He's a guy with a lot of hamstring injuries in the past. It's a back-to-back for him, and he played a ton of minutes in the second half yesterday when Miller and Derek Jones went down. So Bogdanovich, 39% for the field, assuming he goes. I've got him at 77% in my top 150. But certainly, I think a risk to sit today with a downgrade to questionable in that first run of the Clippers injury report. Naquan Tomlin. So a little bit of a lever against DeAndre Hunter. He's technically the backup center for Cleveland. Real fast, let's go to the popcorn machine for Cleveland. Because Tomlin's one of those guys, visually, I've watched a lot of Cavs lately because I keep getting DeAndre Hunter on slates. Tomlin has, played well from what I could tell. He plays a little bit when Hunter's not in the court. You could see that happening here. We get Hunter out at this point. Allen and Mitchell come in. Allen comes out. Nance and Tomlin come in. So Tomlin kind of is a lever against DeAndre Hunter. Not really, because they will play on the court together. But I think production-wise, he's one. Mobley, again, if you're trying to get leverage against a super chalky DeAndre Hunter, he's one. But Tomlin played 17, almost 20 minutes last game, and now is a spot where, most of these guys are healthy, good to go. There's nobody entering Cleveland's lineup that wasn't available that last game. And the second half, too, they played Tomlin a lot, fully iced Larry Nance. So it's possible that you see Tomlin playing more minutes, taking minutes away from Nance somehow. I think Tomlin is a good value play at 3,100. He's producing 1.26 fantasy points per minute to start the year here. Accounting for today's situation, I still only have him at 1.04, so a little bit less than what he's been doing. But at 3,100, there's no other value play on the slate quite like him. And they also moved him off of center only. He's now small forward, power forward, so good positionality for Naquan Tomlin. A name you probably haven't heard a lot here, but he'll be played 15% for the field. I'm getting 2x that because he is your only $3,100 value on the slate, at least as of right now, about 2:20 p.m. on the East Coast. Miles McBride, another guy getting big minutes here. He might not start for the Knicks, but still should get about 30 minutes, should McBride. The rates for him overall without these guys on the court this year have been really high. You're missing Brunson, you're missing Anunoby. McBride's been about 26% usage, I want to say. I don't have those numbers because I knocked him back down because he would have come up a little bit too much for me. But even with those guys going back to last year, he's put about 18% usage, a little bit higher than that in terms of assist rate, I believe. McBride, McBride's put up 17% assist rate, 18% usage rate. Today I'd have him at 0.86 fantasy points a minute, but it might be a little bit higher. He did start last game with Anunoby banged up, or Anunoby rather going out later. Second half, he also started, and then they moved Clarkson into the starting lineup here. As you can see, he played a quick stint, and then they subbed him out for Landry Shamet. And then Shamet went nuts off the bench, put up like 27 points, I believe that was. No, 30 points in the second half. That's fucking crazy. Landry Shamet, one of the best second halves in basketball history last game. But McBride played a good amount of minutes overall in that game, 30 in total. Second half, had a good run here, lost a little bit in the fourth quarter as they really consolidated the rotation around Bridges, Shamet, Hart, Clarkson, and Towns. McBride, though, will get that first crack. If he heats up, he'll play more minutes. So McBride, I would say a good value here, but certainly it's possible that he might not start. And if he doesn't start, then, if somebody gets a hot hand, he'll lose minutes. But Stokastic right now, giving him 30.9 minutes. As a result, I'm getting him at a 47.3% of my lineups, right even with the field at Stokastic's 47. Cat, we talked about amongst the top projected guys. He's also a top value for me. He's a 6x value. My projection is 5 fantasy points higher than Stokastic. That's set at 9,500. Cat, one of your chalkiest plays in the day. He also did just kill Miami in the NBA Cup games on Fridays. So Cat, going to have a lot of recency bias, but also he just plays incredibly well when you take the other key nicks off. In particular, Anunoby and Brunson lead to him averaging over 1.7 fantasy points a minute over the last year. Brandon Williams, your key Mavs point guard at this point, with D'Angelo Russell getting shuffled down the rotation. $5,100 salary. He looks like a top value for me at a 30.1 projection. You have no Anthony Davis for another, I think, 2 weeks. Is they're going to check in on him with his calf strain situation. You also have no Gafford now, so that should make Brandon Williams look a little bit better. Was just losing some more production in the offense. But Brandon Williams, not a super exciting play, but has been getting reliable minutes for Dallas. Today, Stokastic projects for 28 minutes. I've got him for 30 fantasy points. Derek Queen started last game for the Pelicans. We did get Willie Green fired, so that's, I think, a little bit of a relief for people who are the few brave Pelicans fans out there. Derek Queen started the last game here. You can see he played a pretty short stint, picked up one foul. It took him out at about 7.5 minutes left in the first quarter. Then they brought him in again, played a little bit better, but still didn't play a huge stint. Got taken out again. Third quarter, same thing, quick stint. They took him out, brought in Yves Missy directly. So later in the game, Queen and Missy played a little bit together here. You could see that this particular blowout period where the Warriors were up a lot, they moved Queen down. That said, Queen and Missy are going to have a share of minutes thing where if Queen is playing poorly, they'll go to Missy. If Queen's playing well, he'll eat minutes away from Missy. With Zion coming back in too, that gets a little bit muddier. So Derek Queen's still a good value here, but I think the minutes less safe than they've been. Ironically, even though he's probably your starting center now for the Pelicans. But Queen, I've got a 31% field to 22. So risky spot here. I think being with the field on Queen seems like a good move. Wouldn't go nuts at him, though, because the minutes are now really insecure, especially with Zion, who's a Q-tag if he does play today. Shout out to Demetrius joining here. Glad to see him becoming a member. I don't know what tier you're on, but whatever tier you're on, I appreciate the support a bunch here. And if you are on one of the Squirt Squad tiers, make sure to join the Discord, get access to the data. Whenever I update in there, check the updates channel, and then just check whichever one you have access to, and you'll see the updates come through. But I am updating Monday to Saturday for my data, not on Sundays, though, for the NFL, because that's just where all my focus is on a Sunday. But shout out to Demetrius. Thank you for joining. Jalen Duren here, 51% ownership. We talked about him already. Top projected guy, top value guy. So he'll get into a lot of lineups for me and for the field today. And that'll only go up if Cade Cunningham ends up out. Moussa Diabate has been a nice bench play for me lately. Sleepy Kalkbrenner with his new baby child, I guess. Congratulations to the Kalkbrenner family. Big Splash Play fans, I'm sure. That said, Saturday, we saw Diabate have the better day going against the Thunder. Diabate, a guy that I get off the bench sometimes if he plays well. He takes minutes away from Kalkbrenner. He's 4,400, good producer. Field's there, though, at 20%. So playing Kalkbrenner might be a decent move. Sam Merrill, getting 2x the ownership on him at 4K. He's another guy. If you're not playing DeAndre Hunter, it might be that Sam Merrill got a lot more shots up, somehow ate into Hunter's production, or I would say in particular production, theoretically minutes, but Hunter's going to play his minutes no matter what. Really, the only way that Hunter fails that $4,500 price tag is like Merrill goes nuts, Mobley goes nuts, Mitchell goes nuts. There's not enough, Allen goes nuts, whatever. There's not enough shots to go around for Hunter in those groups. So that's one way to play the Cavs. If you really want to fade Hunter, play a bunch of Cavs and hope Hunter fails and you get that production flow into those guys, beating their projection meaningfully. And AJ Mitchell, a 2% play for the field. I got him at 7. Still getting him well projected at 35 fantasy points here. Stokastic is at 29. That said, for Mitchell, he is still producing at a 1 point. Actually, no, that's Mitchell Robinson. Sorry. Not Davion Mitchell either. Too many Mitchells. Still producing a 1.1 fantasy point per minute output with 25 and change percent usage, 20% assist rate. Mitchell always looks good to me in particular right now because we still have Aaron Wiggins out, wrong Wiggins. But Mitchell's minutes, he came off the bench last game. Him not starting does make me like him a little bit less. Stokastic is still giving him 29 minutes off the bench. He played 30 off the bench last game. But Mitchell, it is a risk now because he's playing minutes behind Kason Wallace and one other guy's playing ahead of him. Dort's playing ahead of him. Caruso still taking minutes away. It's riskier minutes for AJ Mitchell than it was. So I still like him as a player. Still think he's producing well, but the run out's not as good as it was when I was getting him a ton on every slate before. There you go. Let's go. Shouts to Demetrius. Appreciate you. All right, guys, let's keep it moving here. And let's go game by game as fast as we can. Well, I guess not as fast as we can, but, as reasonably fast as we can. But guys, show some love. Hit that like button, subscribe. Be like Demetrius, join the channel, or just hit that like button, subscribe if you want to hang around for free more. Of course, you can see my data every day here updated in the afternoon. And the goal here is to give you guys as best of a slate overview as I can before the chaos kicks in NBA, as it always does. But stay tuned. You got live before lock shows for Stokastic. Check out their data updates. If you're paying for my data, it will get updated as well as players get ruled in, get ruled out, all of that. So NBA is always a moving target, and it's important to be mindful of that. Don't build a lineup at 2 p.m. for the NBA and just sit on it all day because that's never really a good idea. But check out the updated data on Stokastic as well. Sims tools, cheap stuff, expensive stuff. It's all 15% off the promo code SPLASH. And let's keep the momentum going there with that because it's a big way I support myself is through their affiliate money and, and I like it. So please click the link, use the promo code SPLASH over at Stokastic if you want to check out their stuff. All right, Milwaukee here. We've talked about Giannis already. He's really the only Bucks player that matters with their 113.5 implied total. Ryan Rollins failed miserably as chalk the other day. He's now 7K, but he still played well enough on the year with 1.03 fantasy points a minute that if you wanted to take that shot for a tournament, you could. Miles Turner, I suppose the same thing. But really, the Bucks, not super exciting going against Cleveland here. Seems like Giannis or bust. Cleveland on their side, the same thing as usual here where Mitchell doesn't project super well for me. That said, he does have that tournament ceiling. I keep seeing it happen. But really, overall, he's averaging 1.4 fantasy points a minute. Seems like it should be a little bit lower based upon his usage rate. He's probably due to shoot a little bit less good at 65% true shooting. Then you have guys like Mobley, Hunter, Merrill, Lonzo. These guys all get decent usage up. Lonzo least so, but he does get some assists. Jared Allen's got over a 20% usage rate as well. Like, these guys get shots up too. It's not just everything going through Mitchell. So I'm cool with him at 10% ownership. When Mitchell is chalk, I think that's when you don't really want to be there quite as much. He just doesn't project super well for me with only 1% exposure in my top 150. Evan Mobley, the field's at 30%. I got him at 17. I'm a little bit lower in projection, 2 fantasy points lower. But Mobley averaging 1.2 fantasy points a minute. There was the same thing last game too, where Mobley had an outlier day, put up a lot of points and peripherals, and DeAndre Hunter had a bad day. I would say if Hunter fails today at super chalk, Mobley's one of the guys in particular I would think had a really good day because if he scores more, just Hunter gets less shots up. And Hunter's usage has been up a lot. He's actually technically getting more shots up this year than Mobley is. So 24.4% usage compared to 23.3 for Mobley. So if Mobley takes that away, takes that back, and he should because he's the star more than DeAndre Hunter is, then Hunter probably gets closer to failing. So push-pull dynamic and projections always. Sam Merrill, 2x the field, has a decent value, 4K. He's playing a lot of minutes because of the depleted Cavs' second parts of the rotation. Guys like Max Strus not being in, Garland, the injury recovery for him. I don't know. He's out like multiple games, it seems like, for the injury recovery, which not good for a guy coming off of the knee. Naquan Tomlin, we talked about here. He's your backup center. Hopefully he takes minutes away from Larry Nance after Nance got squeezed in the second half of last game. It's no guarantee, though, but he's 3,100. A decent value, guys, producing a crazy 1.26 fantasy points a minute and is pretty aggressive out there. Like, he's doing stuff. He's rebounding. He's leading breaks and stuff. He's getting shots up. Tomlin is visually doing something, and it's definitely one of those guys to watch on games where the Cavs are totally nobody in, like not even Hunter. Tomlin's a guy who's probably going to put up a lot of stats in those spots. Indiana here with Nemhart and Mathurin in. I don't see how you play anybody. Siakam's price tag still crazy high at 9,700. He's getting worse by the game. Pacers also just shooting terribly because nobody can get him open at this point. Even getting Nemhart back in does not help the offense run any better. They're just a bad team. And, they're an 11-point dog, 10.5-point dog on the road here. It doesn't look that good. Pistons defense, pretty solid as well. One of the better ones in the league right now. I don't see it for Indiana today. If you get Mathurin out, though, it'll change enough. Those guys will look closer to playable. Detroit on their side, if you get Cade out, everything's going to look better here with Cade in. Duran looks good. Asar Thompson looks okay. Isaiah Stewart looks okay. But really, if they get closer to full health, and also, I don't believe Stokastic's data where they say Dennis Jenkins is just out of the rotation. If I had to guess, he takes some backup guard minutes. I think he gets you probably like 12 minutes that Cade isn't playing, maybe a few more overall. But my guess is he's now your backup lead guard, getting whatever Cade doesn't get. And if Cade's out, I think Jenkins starts again. Even though Stokastic has him out of the rotation, I just don't buy that with how he's played. He's earned the job. Like, he's played well filling in. Coaches don't just fully fire a guy from rotation, even if he is like barely an in-the-league player. Clippers, 107 implied points. Again, we got to watch out for injury here because it does seem odd that they're a 6.5-point dog, back-to-back, whatever. Harden revenge game on the menu if he plays. If he doesn't play, everybody for the team looks better. We talked about these guys a lot. Zubac, an okay play. I'm under on him. Collins, an okay play. I'm under on him. If Harden's out, though, if Bogdanovich is out, these guys all look infinitely better. As it is, though, Harden and Bogdanovich, the key plays to me. And I don't mind Zubac from a matchup standpoint, going against Drummond. About as good of a situation as a guy like Zubac who, is going to be happy being close to the rim. It's as good as it gets for him. Philly on their side, nothing besides Drummond coming up for me or the field. Field's real heavy on Drummond. I've not been there as much. 37% ownership for the field. I'm getting 13. He's produced 1.08 fantasy points per minute this year. I've got him at 0.95 today. Getting Paul George back in, not good for his usage picture. Drummond's rebounding well. He's producing well enough. Not old Drummond, though, and I think the field keeps playing him or wants to play him like he is. And New York, and Stokastic too with their projections, like they do reward the longer term sample size more so. So I think there's probably some data kind of supporting the old days of Andre Drummond, which he has not been last 2 years. He looks as close to it as he has been, so far this year for the Sixers. And he's like closing games and stuff. So that's all good for Andre Drummond. But I just like, that's a lot of ownership for Drummond. And I don't feel that, at least in my data. New York, 121.5 implied points, playing the fast-paced Heat, and I had the pace numbers wrong. Basically, was waiting the previous season a little bit too much. I'm now waiting this season more for team-based stats, not player stats. Still kind of taking enough projection from last year. We're not going crazy on guys. We're just killing it this season so far. That said, for the Heat, playing at a 105 and change pace this year, I think they look good with the Knicks gaining about 6 possessions on paper. You have no Brunson. You have no Anunoby. All looks good for the Knicks today. That said, Towns, super chalky, went nuts the last game, literally played against the Heat. There is still a portion of NBA DFS players that chase DVP stuff too much. And when Towns just killed the Heat last game, people think he'll go nuts again. 9,500, you can maybe pay up for some other guys and get different. But I'm getting Towns a lot here. He projects even better for me than Stokastic. So I'm going to ride Towns to the ground with him, averaging 1.7 fantasy points a minute without Brunson and Anunoby going back to last year. So a really big sample size that is stable, over 1,000 possessions of sample size for that. Mikal Bridges also gets a pretty big uptick with those guys out. Fields at 14%. I'm getting 15. I would say if you're not playing Towns, playing Bridges and having him be an outlier player, I think would be a good move. But Bridges playable to me alongside Towns, playable in lieu of Towns. I think he has a good shot. I'm never a Bridges guy. I think he's got a good shot at hitting whatever his ceiling is today. He's been assisting more too, and now you're missing lead point guard and a secondary, shot creator mostly for himself, but a secondary guy in Anunoby. I think Bridges benefits a lot from that. Josh Hart, rate-wise, just never really plays that much better with Brunson and Anunoby out. He'll have more court time, though, so he's certainly got potential. But he's really been bad this year at 0.97 fantasy points a minute. Which is weird. I'm touting Bridges and he's only at 0.98, but there's more assist upside for Bridges overall compared to how I'd view him. Hart, there's been less. He's not really getting shots up, and Bridges has been shooting better. Hart shooting under league average in terms of true shooting. Jordan Clarkson, I suppose, could start like he did in the second half last game. But quickly got the hook in that one. I think the minutes are pretty unstable for him. If he plays well, he'll earn more. If he plays poorly, as he has for most of this year, he'll play less. but he's been shooting well, 61% true shooting. So Clarkson can get hot. It just like doesn't seem like he wants to get his shot or is able to get his shot as much as he could in the past. Mitchell Robinson, not really in play. McBride is really the big one here. If you look at just this year's rates without Anunoby and Brunson, you're talking about a guy who's producing over 1 fantasy point per minute. If you go back to last year, it doesn't look quite as good. But McBride, again, should start here. A risk to not close, but 47% ownership. I'm dead with the field on that. I do think if you just look at this year, he has looked like a lot better player, a lot more confident player. I think I can make the case that with the guys being out, it's possible McBride picks up more work than Hart does. Because McBride playing better, Hart playing worse. McBride's still shooting pretty poorly, though, to be totally fair. Shooting worse than Hart, and I just shit on Hart for being under league average there. Miami not getting much of anything. Norm Powell a little bit. Hawkins a little bit. These guys around 10 to 15%, let's say. Davion Mitchell, 18%. The field's at 17. Getting Pele Larson a little. The Heat, as I've talked about, really interesting offense where these guys can spike pretty meaningfully depending upon who's getting the better matchup on the wing. But really for these guys, the price tag's pretty high. Bam Adebayo's still out, but you're paying every dollar of that Bam Adebayo not being in. So Powell, cool, looks like a decent value. Hawkes, decent. Mitchell, decent. None of these guys priorities. And Wiggins, certainly a tournament option on no ownership. If he goes nuts, he kills the other 10%-ish owned plays. Charlotte, we do get LaMelo in. Brandon Miller should be returning to action soon, but not today. LaMelo's produced pretty well without Miller, but nobody here stands out meaningfully. They're kind of in no man's land in terms of price because you've had LaMelo in and out. You've had Miller out for a little bit. Bridges is priced up now. Knippel's priced up. Don't see how you get here, but yeah, I mean, Diabate really it for me. The field's playing him. I'm playing him. Kalkbrenner, direct leverage. If he plays well as a starter, he'll take minutes away from Diabate. But nothing looks that good for the Hornets besides Diabate as a bench value. And there are better values, frankly, on the slate that are going to be playing starter minutes. So I like Diabate a lot as a value, but not when he's chalky. I think that's when you don't play guys off the bench as much. Toronto, 124.5. Really not a lot to love here as well. These guys are all pretty expensive. Barnes, definitely the biggest fantasy upside, as we always say on the show. 1.3 fantasy points a minute on the year. Everybody else around 1 and change, ranging from Pirtle to Ingram. Ingram, definitely a lot of good shooting for him in terms of the usage, but Barrett's pretty close there. Quickly is assisting more. They all have their merits. They all can spike an upside any given day, but none of them project super well because of the existence of the others. So Toronto, always tough for me to play. They have tournament upside, but it's hard to have a lean really because they all play pretty well. Barnes, though, is like your alpha dog who, if he's going to, like somebody's going to break a slate, it's most likely going to be Barnes. Too many good power forwards on the slate. I mean, too many good plays overall, to be honest. And then it's always teams like Toronto where they don't project for 5x value. You kind of miss them. And it's like, if you're only playing a few entries, if you're only playing a 20 max, you don't get to teams like Toronto too often. If you're playing a 150 max, people are playing Toronto every night and hitting because those guys also are good players. They just don't have as good of a salary. Dallas, not a lot to love here. Brandon Williams or bust mostly for me. But Daniel Gafford's in the projection set. Him being out should help Cisse a little bit more, who's averaging 1.1 fantasy points a minute. If you get Cisse starting, I would say he is a very strong play. I'm not sure that I would expect him to start. Real fast, the Dallas popcorn machine. So Lively and Gafford played last game. So it's hard to get a read on that. Yeah, Cisse played a few minutes here. Then they went no bigs. They didn't play Powell at all. They went Flag, Najee, Caleb, Russell, and Klay Thompson. Then there's a period here. Yeah, then it's all Lively or Gafford. Look, it's possible that Cisse picks up 34 minutes because that's what Lively and Gafford combined are leaving behind. But it's not going to be a super effective run, you would think, against Gobert, and a risk that they could just go small and try to keep attacking Gobert over and over. So I think Cisse is an interesting play. I would like to see Stokastic's minutes interpretation before I get a read on that. I'm just checking to see if they updated minutes here, so I can maybe do it fast on stream. They've not updated for Gafford out yet. So yeah, I think it's possible Cisse might be a player that matters. Really want to see the start for him though to feel fully good about that. But at 3,600, if he does start, I think a strong play. Given the fact he's produced 1.1 fantasy points a minute, rebounds well, not a lot of usage, but he'll get shots at the rim theoretically. Minnesota on their side prefer the Randall ownership to the Edwards ownership. Naz Reid off the bench, always a valid enough play at 5,100 and power forward center eligible. Really, Minnesota, it's a good total, again, with that 122.5 implied. But the matchup versus Dallas, a little bit of a pace up. Not a bad defense for Dallas. I don't love Minnesota here. Really feel like you need somebody out to like these guys at their prices. But Randall and Edwards definitely in play. OKC, nothing coming up at all here besides a little bit of AJ Mitchell, a little bit of Isaiah Joe. In this spot, they should smoke New Orleans. But, if they don't, SGA has a shot at hitting, I guess, outlier upside. He produced so well versus Charlotte over the weekend. The issue is that eventually, even with Charlotte hanging in the entire first half, the game just got away late. That's what happens against OKC. They're way better than New Orleans, but if somehow New Orleans stays competitive, maybe play a couple Pelicans with Shea. I wouldn't do that in a 20 max, probably 150 max. That's probably how some sharp players will build. There's no ownership for OKC. New Orleans on their side, no ownership for anybody besides Derek Queen, who started last game, but does play directly inverse to Yves Missi. If Yves Missi plays well, he'll steal minutes away from Derek Queen. The inverse should also be true. Queen producing 1.06 fantasy points per minute. I like Derek Queen. I do think this matchup is not the one to be crazy about him. If he gets into lineups for me, I won't be mad at it, but I'm above the field by a little. I think that there is risk for Queen with Yves Missi and him now backs, just sharing minutes. Chicago in our late game. Here's the projections if you are playing the late slate. Jalen Smith, okay value. Giddey, always vaguely playable to me, but pretty expensive. Jokic, I would want to play. Murray, I'd want to play some of. Gordon, some of. THJ as your value starter. Theoretically here, some of. Not sure if Peyton Watson or THJ would start if Cam Johnson is in, but Christian Brown is out. So that's the late games. We're going to go to Stokastic next, see what their data thinks without any interference from me. So let's check that part out now. But again, guys, please do help a brother out. Hit that like button and subscribe. You guys know the deal here. It goes a long way for me here. Just one guy showing you my work. It might seem like there's a professional team behind me with how great this content is. He says self-effacingly. But, really for you guys, it is just me doing this. I create the thumbnails. I do all the data updating as best I can, including the projections on the back end. Or for you guys that are paying for that, I do it because I love this stuff and also because I feel like currently in the space, I add a value that does not exist a ton. So please help me out. Hit that like button, subscribe. New videos every Monday to Friday at 2 p.m. And of course, I do work really hard at this, as hopefully comes across every day. I watch games. I update data. I check the popcorn machine for everything I don't see. Like Sundays, I don't watch any basketball because I'm so in the NFL mindset and also still trying to be a dad and a decent enough partner. And, I still check the popcorn machines the next day. It's work, guys. But, I have fun doing this. I hope you guys have fun. You sense the fun while watching as we fucking just pour money into the fucking DFS sites. But check out Stokastic too. You're seeing their product here on screen if you want it, or the cheap stuff, just their data, the lineup generator tool, or the sim stuff. It's all 15% off at Stokastic. So check them out down below. Link in the description, or use promo code SPLASH. Two great ways to do it. And shout out to all you guys watching here. 300 watching live between Twitter and YouTube. So appreciate all you guys watching and hanging out here. All right, your top ROI lineup right now, again, with Gafford still in the projection set. So Cisse may move up. He may not. I think we need to know a little bit more. We got James Harden, Jordan Clarkson, Naquan Tomlin makes it at that $3,100 value price tag. Isaiah Stewart makes it, and Jalen Duren. Definitely, these guys are playing one behind the other, it seems like, especially with the Sar Thompson back in. But if they start together, I'd feel better about Stewart and Duren playing together in the same lineup. Anthony Edwards, DeAndre Hunter makes it that $4,500 value. They're not fading it here. And Derek Queen makes it as well in a tough matchup, but he is going to get starter run. And if they get smoked by the Thunder, Queen will definitely get blowout run as well. James Harden again at number 2, Jordan Clarkson, DeAndre Hunter, Evan Mobley, Andre Drummond makes this one. Brandon Williams makes this one. Jaime Jaquez and Derek Queen again. So Clarkson makes it again. Harden makes it again. Well, we are aware. We talked about that already. But these guys here coming up. Number 3, James Harden, Miles McBride, a.k.a. Deuce, to his friend, because you know why? He's the shit. DeAndre Hunter, Naquan Tomlin, Daniel Gafford in this one, even though he is unavailable, as we've talked about several times throughout the show. Jordan Clarkson, Julius Randle, Karl Anthony Towns. Number 4, Davion Mitchell, Clarkson yet again. He is in all these lineups. I'm surprised to see that. DeAndre Hunter yet again. That makes sense because he's super cheap for a guy that has his role. John Collins makes this one. Derek Queen yet again. Brandon Williams yet again. Evan Mobley. Giannis, his first showing in these top 4. And number 5, James Harden again. Miles McBride again. Naquan Tomlin again. Mobley again. Naz Reid. Brandon Williams again. Cat again. And Clarkson again. Clarkson makes all the top 5. He's not the same guy. He's not the same guy this year. He's not chucking like he used to. And I think this is one of those things. Again, Stokastic, you're paying for projections that reflect the longer term history here. That's how you find the middle outcome. That's still reliable for a large part of people that are playing lineups in DFS slates use Stokastic data. That said, Clarkson this year is just not Clarkson of old. And I think you're getting a little bit of the Clarkson of old in the past. What settings do I recommend? I don't use projections and try to be aware of ownership. I don't do anything setting wise. You want to put uniques on, you can put more uniques on if you want to spread your lineups around, but make sure your projections, ideally, your top projected lineup is like within 10 to 15 points of your lowest projected lineup. That's that. Yeah, I don't bump anything. Just the data's supposed to do the work for you. If you want to fade highly owned guys for other guys on the team, it's about as much as I would do. Highest ROI players, 8% ROI for Jordan Clarkson, your only positive ROI player on the slate. So Stokastic loves him. He was in all those top ROI lineups. Not a surprise here. Naquan Tomlin, flat 0% ROI, but it doesn't matter if it's negative or positive. We're looking at the directional accuracy. Who has the highest ROIs across the entire set of lineups? And that is Clarkson 1, Tomlin 2, James Harden number 3, Derek Queen number 4, Daniel Gafford, who's not playing at number 5. So that might be Cisse. We'll see how that looks. Brandon Williams, though, right behind him. Asar Thompson, right behind him. Exposures. DeAndre Hunter is in 74% of the field's lineups. Stokastic is giving you 81. Obviously, he's not in every lineup play, but about as close to that as you can get. So DeAndre Hunter, be one of those guys that if you are playing a 20 max, you definitely want to be getting him in the majority of lineups, unless you're going to really fade the chalk entirely, get fully unique. But DFS, NBA DFS in particular, usually are playing to projections a little bit more. And then you might leverage in a few lineups. If you're not playing on DeAndre Hunter in every lineup, those 20% of lineups without him, again, play more Evan Mobley, play more Naquan Tomlin, play more Donovan Mitchell, whatever kind of says to you that DeAndre Hunter, how does DeAndre Hunter fail in the slate while likely playing 30 minutes? It's probably other guys in the court producing in ways that take Hunter's value away. Jordan Clarkson, my God. I am not on this page at all. At 5,200, I just don't get it. But they have a 31 fantasy point projection on Jordan Clarkson. He's in 72% of the Stokastic top 150 lineups. Fields at 21. Stokastic in love with Jordan Clarkson. I do not agree with that on my data. I would need to see him starting at the very least. Miles McBride, 59% exposure in the top 150. Fields at 54. McBride looks like a good play to me. Again, should get minutes and should start here, even though he may not close. Karl Anthony Towns, 45% exposure in Stokastic's top 150, Fields at 50. So not a big fade there, but they are under the field on Cat, given a lot of ownership going to an expensive player in Cat at 9,500. And 1-2, who box score-wise, people just kind of clicking around on DraftKings, we'll see. He just killed the same Miami team on Friday. So really there's nothing that's going to keep Cat's ownership in check with the various Knicks players unavailable. And Derek Queen, Stokastic is giving you 43%, Fields at 19. It's a little bit ahead of Evan Mobley at 43% exposure as well. Queen will start, and again, should get blowout runs. I really could talk myself into Queen more, like thinking that through, because like I think he's a risk to lose minutes early, get in foul trouble or something. Like he get baited into fouls by SGA if they switch on him like real easily. But once the Thunder start kicking the Pelicans' ass, Queen's going to be out there no matter what, and that's when he'll produce the most. So I can get behind Derek Queen. I wish you were power forward center though, as opposed to just center. Highest positive leverage plays for Stokastic. You're getting Jordan Clarkson an ungodly amount, 51% more in the field. I got to think that moves down a little bit. Unless he starts, then maybe they keep it. Derek Queen, 24% leverage. Still okay with that. Naquan Tomlin at 3,100, getting him 20% more in the field. It's always hard to fill a small forward, power forward. So taking the value guy here. Definitely a risk that minutes can flow away from him, especially if like Jared Allen plays well. He probably gets squeezed a few of those kind of backup center minutes. But he played the second half last game. Larry Nance got squeezed from the rotation, and his minutes went up. So I think Tomlin at 3,100 feels like a play that is a little bit too cheap, even if he doesn't hit, relative to that value. James Harden, assuming he plays, 19% positive leverage on him, and Evan Mobley, 16% leverage on him. Definitely coming up more than the field. Negative leverage plays, you're getting Emmanuel quickly, 12% less in the field. I have no issue with that. Certainly has upside versus Charlotte, but 6,700, you really got to kind of fade the projection to play him at that point. Josh Hart, he's barely getting played here. He has not been great for the Knicks this year. And 6,900 kind of assumes a role increase that has not really been the case for him this year without Brunson or Anunoby. And frankly, going back to last year, same thing for Josh Hart. Mikal Bridges, Stokastic is fading him too. So they're low on all the Knicks today, maybe besides McBride. Negative 7.5% ownership on Bridges, only getting him played in 7% of lineups. Sam Merrill, fade on him as well. He's only in 3% of Stokastic's top 150 lineups. That's negative 7.5% leverage. And Jaime Jaquez, you're only getting in 9.3% of lineups, which is negative 7.3. Jaquez is pretty expensive, but shooting guard, small forward, so they don't like him. Let's build a lineup here on Stokastic's single lineup simulator. And it's going to be tough to guess what it wants us to give because, that's just what it's going to be. Shamet starts. You always say this shit, man. You can't why? It's like one of the worst bits. Go fuckers. I know you got a troll handle and whatever, but the fake starting lineup guesses that are always wrong is like one of the worst bits, I think, in YouTube. I think you can do better. I'll challenge you to do better instead of just naming guys who never start. But Shamet could start. Again, he went for like 30 points in the second half, so they could, but they might want to keep him as an off the bench scorer, given the fact like they probably need a scoring punch off the bench. So we'll see. But you can make the case Clarkson would also be a scoring punch off the bench. Who knows? All right, let's build this lineup out. Again, most of these are going to be the guys I would qualify as my splash plays in the slate. But you know the deal. Let's put DeAndre Hunter in first. 2,500. Sim likes him. No reason to get too cute there. I always project DeAndre Hunter well. Now everybody else will be playing him too. So join me in the fun. I'm going to look at my Excel real fast. It's easier to see positions on here for me. I think Deuce McBride, Miles McBride is going to be my shooting guard here. He could be my point guard as well, but let's keep some higher upside guys for that. McBride should start. Again, no risk or no guarantee that he closes. But as it is, I think he is a good value play that seems guaranteed a good allotment of minutes. And he has produced 1 fantasy point per minute this year without Brunson and without Anunoby. Small sample size, though. I think right now in the data, it's Harden at point guard. Gonna play Cat and Harden, and that's gonna be my spend ups. But Harden point guard, it's still a shot that he does just sit in this game because, why wouldn't he really? I'm gonna put in the value Tomlin as well in my forward spot. It leaves us 6K for center, guard, and utility. For me, the center would be Jalen Duren. It'll only look better if we get Cade out, but even with Cade in, I've projected for about 46 fantasy points, so pretty good for Duren at that 8K salary. Derek Queen, I think, would still make it for me in utility. So save a little bit of money here and have 6K left for 1 guard spot. Who is affordable here? Levert, Sexton, Davion. This is a pretty ugly grouping, huh? I feel like I would play Davion. I have at 30.1 fantasy points. Brandon Williams, I also have at 30.1. So I would play him flat even with Davion. I'm also fading Bogdanovich here, and he is definitely a player I like. Let me take out Harden. Put in Bogdanovich instead. And that gives us 11.8 for the last guard spot, which is also too much money. This is tough. I don't know how to play the guys I want to play and make this lineup make sense. Could put in Cade and just hope that he's a low-owned tournament option, I guess. Maybe Indiana stays competitive in this game somehow. So leaving 800 in salary on the table here. And really, I've got Harden projected almost dead even with Cade. I've got Harden at 53.5. I've got him better than Cade. I've got Harden at 53.5, Cade at 49, which is a little bit light. All right, still positive ROI, so I'll leave on this. But Bogdanovich, McBride, Hunter, Towns, Duren, Cade, Tomlin, Derek Queen. What if I go to Harden? Let's see what happens if I go to Harden over Bogdanovich. Then a guard, we have 6K. And we play Levert. I think we play Davion here. He's got the best projection. You play Davion instead. I think this ROI will be higher. So this lineup is Harden, McBride, Hunter, Towns, Jalen Duren, Davion Mitchell, Tomlin, and Derek Queen. Yeah, there we go. 77% ROI. I like those guys. Definitely some of the splash plays I'll give you guys in a moment. Before I do, one last run through plugs, guys. Please do hit that like button. Please subscribe here. Again, I just do the best I can for you guys every day. That's my promise, whether I get things right or wrong. But you know it's gambling, so please take what I say, get whatever value you want out of it. If you're going to take a thought of mine, play another guy on the same team, whatever. Just play what you want to play here, but go about it as smart as you can. Use the data, like I try to do. Use Stokastic data, use projections, use sims if you can. Just try to build good lineups. It's really, it's that simple, guys. Please check out Stokastic, 15% off the promo code SPLASH. Only deal they have going right now is this one that I get as an affiliate, so please check them out. It supports the show. Half the money you pay to them comes back to me, and a lot of you guys are doing that, so keep doing it, please, because it's the only way I can keep doing this show for free for you guys every day, Monday to Friday at 2 p.m. So please do check out Stokastic. 15% off, and if you want my data here, all the stuff I show you on screen, join the Squirt Squad tiers, and if you just want to support the show and get access to the Discord, it's $5 to join down below. Of course, just join via YouTube, and then you can sync it up with your Discord. You get access right away to all the good stuff on there, whether it's my projection tiers or the matchup sheet tier or the one where you just get to join and hang out and chat. All right, splash plays for the day. I think it has to be DeAndre Hunter. I mean, he's 4,500, nothing brave there. Bogdanovich, if he plays, I'll take the risk on him. He played a lot of minutes yesterday, has a history of injuries, but there's just like nobody left for the Clippers, and it still feels like you might get Harden out. So whatever Clippers play today, if it's Harden, Bogdanovich, if it's not those guys, whoever's left, just play some Clippers, I think, no matter what. Naquan Tomlin is a value. I do think the minutes are not great there, but him icing Nance the second half of the game, I think it's a pretty good sign. At 3,100, he's the only player like him, so I will say he is a splash play. We needed that salary. Besides him, the Knicks, McBride and Towns, Jalen Duren, definitely a splash play. Anybody else? Yeah, I think that's it. Derek Queen, I'd say a splash play too. Make sure to gamble responsibly, guys, even though it is always money time here on this channel. Follow this channel on YouTube at Splash Play Bets, on Twitter at Splash Play Pod. Appreciate all you guys being here as always. Again, hit that like button before you go, and I will see you guys again soon. I'll also be, if you want some showdown stuff, number one, check out my video on the at Splash Play Pod channel where I do a similar process for the NFL, showdown slates, and also we'll be on Stokastic's Live Before Lock today for NFL at 7:15 Eastern, so check it out. Get to hang out with my pal Waffy, so watch that. But I'll see you guys soon. Enjoy your days. Good luck, and check out for projection updates later today, guys, because I will update us as needed. All right, bye, guys.